Hey guys, so I wanted to make my video about the Cowboys' first game, which was on Sunday against the Giants. They ended up winning 19-3, and they basically dominated the whole game. Like there wasn't really a point at which I was worried during this game. There wasn't really a point in which the Cowboys weren't in control. Uh, the offense moved the ball pretty consistently. The one thing that kind of worries me about the offense is the lack of touchdowns. Like we had three opportunities to score touchdowns that turned into field goals, and it's just against better teams and against teams with better offenses, we're going to have to score those touchdowns. We can't kick field goals in those situations, especially against teams like the Packers and stuff like that. But this was against the Giants, fortunately. Coming into the game, the Giants were without Odell Beckham Jr., which is a big deal for them. Obviously he's their best offensive weapon, but a lot of people were picking the Giants to still win this game, and not only just win this game, but people were picking the Giants to go to the Super Bowl because they added Brandon Marshall on the other side, another wide receiver to start opposite OBJ. Take some of the pressure off and open up their offense a little bit. And he was playing. OBJ was hurt, but Brandon Marshall was playing, and so a lot of people thought that would be still enough. But he didn't catch a pass until the game was over. It was in garbage time. The Cowboys were playing a soft zone and basically giving it to him. He caught one pass during then. So, I think he was targeted like 3 or 4 times. So he was basically a non-factor in the game. And it's obvious that the Giants' offense is going to need Odell Beckham Jr. going forward. Eli Manning just looks ineffective. When he does get the ball out, he looks like he's lost some arm strength. And the Cowboys were getting a lot of pressure on him, and they couldn't get a run game going, just nothing. The Cowboys' defense played well and just shut them out. The one time, this is a perfect metaphor for the game itself. The one scoring drive the Giants had benefited the Cowboys more than it benefited them. They took 10 minutes off the clock, and then they only kicked a field goal. And so in the grand scheme of things, it was beneficial for the Cowboys and not beneficial for the Giants. For the Cowboys on the offensive side, Ezekiel Elliott, he was really the engine that made the whole offense go. And, he, as of, last week, it looked like he wasn't even going to be playing. He was suspended 6 games for domestic violence, which it's been really shady and seems to be very corrupt from the very beginning because it doesn't seem like they have any evidence. Not that they've released anyway. They don't have any real smoking gun evidence that he did anything. And the girl that is charging him, or accusing him, they have evidence that she was going to try to blackmail him with a sex tape. It's just like they have evidence that she's a shady bitch, basically. And, just the whole thing has been ridiculous, and it seems like justice has been done. A Texas court stepped in and ruled that the suspension was invalid and that it shouldn't stand. And so they have put the suspension on hold until there can be a trial. It seems like as soon as Zeke was able to fairly present his case, he won. And now the suspension is on hold, and so as it looks right now, he's eligible to play all 16 games this year. I'm sure Eagles, Giants, Redskins fans, Packers fans, Falcons fans, I'm sure they're all pissed. Because, if I was one of their fans, I'd be pissed. It doesn't really matter if he's innocent or not. You don't want him to play. And so, that's just how fans are. And I'm sure that a lot of those fans are pissed. But it seems to me, bias or not, it seems to me that justice has been done. And that there hasn't been any evidence to suspend him. Even the NFL's lead investigator recommended that he not be suspended. And then they just went ahead and did it anyway. It seems like the NFL doesn't want to appear to be soft on domestic violence. They've been criticized in the past about the punishments that guys have gotten for domestic violence, like Ray Rice comes to mind, and it seems like they wanted to just use Zeke as an example as to what's going to happen to people going forward, and it was bullshit. It was unwarranted, and luckily a court stepped in and stopped it, because he is the engine that makes the offense go, and that was evident in the game on Sunday. He ended up with 104 yards on 17 carries. He didn't have any touchdowns, but he did add like 30-something yards receiving. It was a tough game. The Giants didn't allow him any long runs. He didn't have any runs over 10 yards. He fought for every inch he got, and he bruised the Giants defense well. I mean, early in the game he was hitting them hard, and he wore them down definitely as the game went on. Dak Prescott played well. He played well, especially in the sense that he didn't make any big mistakes. He didn't cause any turnovers, which we've come to expect from him. But he was a little less accurate than we've come to expect from him as well. He went like 28 for 46 or something like that, which for him is not as efficient as he normally is. And especially early in the game, he missed some throws that probably would have been touchdowns. One of them for sure. Dez was wide open on a little slant, like a 4-yard slant, and Dak just overthrew him. And so he would have ended the game with a lot better stats if he had been a little more accurate, but he also didn't make any mistakes or cost us the game in any way. He played well, controlled the tempo. He kept drives alive late in the game with his feet. He makes smart plays, and I trust him. I trust him under center very, very much, and he just continued to exemplify that. I feel like each one of the receivers, Jason Witten included, had a big moment. Nobody had like a dominating game, but each one of them had a moment that was big in the game. Dez Bryant had, I would call, an effective game. Not so much good, especially in terms of stats. Like, I think he had 2 catches for 40-something yards, but he had an effective game. He spread the defense. We threw deep to him like 3 times early in the game, one of which resulted in a pass interference call. The other 2 probably should have. It was funny, the first 2 times we threw it up to him, I felt like Janoris Jenkins interfered with him. One time for sure. He grabbed his jersey on one of them for sure. But they didn't call it. And then later, they throw it up, and there was no pass interference that anyone that I can see can argue that it was pass interference in any way. I mean, Janoris Jenkins played the ball perfectly. He looked back. He only had one hand on his shoulder pad. I mean, it was nothing outrageous, and they called pass interference on that play. So I think it was a make-up call for before, and I'm glad to see the Cowboys doing that. If Dez is running down the sideline one-on-one, I don't care who's covering him. I mean, Janoris Jenkins is very good. For my money, he's one of the best cover corners in the NFL, and with his size, he is able to cover Dez a lot better than most people can. But I do want to see the Cowboys throwing those kind of passes up down the sideline if Dez is one-on-one. If he has one-on-one coverage, throw it up, because chances are he's going to catch it, or there's going to be a pass interference penalty called. Now, so Dez he had one short catch, and then he had one catch where he got away a little bit, got some yardage after the catch, probably like a 25, 30-yard gain. It was a nice play, and like I said, he was effective. He for us, stretches out the opposing defense and makes them focus on him and opens up a lot of the other guys. Jason Witten, of course, broke the record for most receiving yards in Cowboys history. He passed Michael Irvin early in the game, and then he caught a touchdown, the only touchdown of the game, from Dak on a play-action pass where he was just wide open on a slant, and Dak hit him perfectly right into the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, nobody deserves more than Jason Witten, and he's a Hall of Famer in my book for sure. And, just another great game from him. He just seems ageless. Like, he just always plays. He always plays well, and he's always open on third down, and he catches anything. If you get it near his hands, he's going to catch it. And then Cole Beasley. Beasley didn't have a big game. Like, he didn't catch many passes, but he did make one of the best catches I've ever seen on a crucial third down, too. It ended up being a big play in the game because it allowed the Cowboys to take more time off the clock. But it was a little swing pass, and Dak just didn't get very much on the ball. It just kind of floated, and it almost got picked off, actually. And Cole had to reach back for it, and he, like, knocked it a couple times with his hand, and then he caught it. He caught it behind his head. Like, with the tips of his fingers, he kind of trapped it against his back and then tiptoed his way up the sideline for a first down. It was pretty amazing. He had a couple catches. Most of them are on third down, like Jason Witten, to extend drives. I mean, he's a huge part of our offense. He's very, very, very difficult to cover, especially in the slot. Terrence Williams had a couple big catches. One, a slant over the middle that he kind of took, crisscrossed up the field for a nice big chunk of yardage. He had a couple catches early as well. He's just a solid number 2. He gets a little better every year, and he's got a penchant for making big plays. Speaking of that, Bryce Butler, whose only problem has been consistency, the guy, I mean, this was a perfect indication in this game. He made a really nice diving catch on a fly pattern where he just ran by everybody and Dak threw it up, and he laid out and caught it. It was beautiful. And then later in the game, a slant over the middle where he got behind the defense. I mean, if he catches the ball, he might score. If he catches the ball and kind of slips out of the defender's grasp, which happens all the time, he's a big, strong guy, then he might score, and he drops it. And that's just, that's been the story of him. He'll make an exceptional play and then drop 2 easy passes. And so you just don't know what you're going to get with him. He's just kind of unreliable at this point in his career. That was basically it on offense. I mean, the offensive line played really well. They kept Dak clean for the most part. There was some pressure. I mean, the Giants' defensive line is fantastic. I mean, JPP and Olivier Vernon. I mean, that's a great defensive line, and for the most part, the offensive line kept Dak pretty clean and pretty upright. And of course, in the running game, they had to work hard, but they got Zeke his yards. Lyle Collins played really well at right tackle in his first start. Chaz Green got the start at left guard instead of Jonathan Cooper. I think that's his first name, Jonathan. Who everybody thought would start. And the offensive line looked good. They look like the best offensive line in football, which they probably are. Then the defense, man. The defense won this game. The defensive line was constantly getting pressure. DeMarcus Lawrence doubled his sack total from last year with 2, both of them in the first half, I'm fairly sure. He was disrupting things all night, especially in the game when he was nice and fresh. I mean, I'm sure as the season goes on, he'll be fresher later in the game, but he looked good. And Tank Lawrence was playing well, and Charles Trapper, a new guy to the team, he got a sack later in the game. Just the defensive line was creating consistent pressure with a 4-man front, and that's it. We blitzed, I think, 3 times the entire game, and they still got consistent pressure on Eli Manning. So that's huge. That will protect the secondary so much because it allows the linebackers to help in the coverage instead of trying to blitz and create pressure. We'll see how we do against better teams, teams with better offensive lines. Obviously, the Giants' offensive line is their biggest weakness, and it was in full effect on Sunday. I mean, it was obvious that their offensive line is not playing very well. But, I mean, the Cowboys' defensive line was also playing very well, and that did not help. I am really excited about the Cowboys' linebacking core. It would have been even better. Anthony Hitchens got hurt. He's going to be back probably about halfway through the year. But it would be even better if he was in there. But even without him, Jalen Smith made his professional debut on Sunday and looked good. He didn't look like the game was too fast for him. In fact, he looked fast. He looked quick. And he's so athletic that I'm excited about the benefit that he's going to bring to this team, and especially to Sean Lee. I feel like he's going to free Sean Lee up a lot to make more plays, even though, I mean, if you watch the Cowboys defense, unless there's like a bomb down the field, number 50 is going to be there. He's going to be around the ball. He's going to be involved in the play. I guarantee it. If you watch any play, look for number 50. He's going to be around the fucking ball. He's going to be either making the tackle or he's going to be right there. And it's just the way, I mean, Sean Lee is playing at such a high level. I don't see any linebackers in the league that I would say are much, much better than him. I mean, even the best guys in the league, he's right there with them. He's right there with them. And then in the secondary is going to be the weakness of the defense. But Anthony Brown, especially, I mean, Orlando Scandrick got hurt early in the game. He broke his hand. He already had surgery on it. They said it was successful. They're saying hopefully he's going to miss one game. But in the meantime, I mean, he was hurt early in this game, and Anthony Brown stepped up and locked down the guy he was covering. And same with Nolan Carroll, who everybody was down on. The Cowboys signed him in the offseason, and everybody was talking about how he's, not a solution. He's like a number 3 guy. But he played well, too. The entire secondary played pretty well. We did not give up any big plays. And the ones that Eli Manning did connect on were where we were playing zone, and he just found a hole in the zone. It wasn't a missed assignment. It's just, zones have holes in them. It's the way it is. And, I mean, they allowed, I think, 33 passing yards in the first half. And, Eli Manning ended up with like 240-something yards passing. But all of that is garbage time. I mean, I guarantee 80 to 100 yards of that is in garbage time, when it didn't matter and the Cowboys were playing 3 deep or 4 deep zones. I mean, they shut down the Giants' offense in this game. Like I said, there was one scoring drive for the Giants. It was in the third quarter. They took 10 minutes off the clock, and they kicked a field goal. It benefited the Cowboys way more than it benefited the Giants, and it pretty much just hurried the game along. The Cowboys, like I said before, the real only thing for their offense is that it was a little inconsistent in the red zone. We didn't, and part of that I blame on the play calling. We had a 1st and goal from the 4-yard line, and we threw it 3 times in a row. Granted, if Dak had hit the throws, a couple of them could have been touchdowns. The plays would have worked, and then nobody would have anything to say about the play calling. But why not give the best running back behind the best offensive line in football the fucking ball and let them get 4 yards for the goddamn touchdown? I mean, at least on first down, fuck. I don't understand that. I don't understand throwing on 1st and goal, basically, ever. Why not see if your offensive line could just bully you into the end zone? Why are you going to throw in such a tight little area where there's so many people in such a small little area that it's way more easy to defend a pass in the red zone than it is anywhere else on the field? But anyway, we won the game. That's what's most important. The Cowboys looked very good, dominant at home against a team that gave them nothing but fucking trouble last year. And so it couldn't have got off to a much better start. The season could not have got off to a much better start. We play the Broncos next weekend, who won a very close, exciting game with the Chargers. The Broncos got out to an early lead and then almost let the Chargers come all the way back and tie it, but they ended up blocking a field goal at the very end of the game and winning that. So that's who the Cowboys are going to play next week. Obviously, it's going to be a very similar game to this week's game. A very, very good defense with an offense that can be dangerous because it has weapons. Even though it's not the best offense, definitely not in the top half of offenses in the league, they have weapons, and they're dangerous because of those weapons. And Simeon looked good. And so, this is going to be a tougher game, I think, than the Giants game. It's going to be a similar type of game, though. The Cowboys are going to need to control the clock, establish the running game early, pound the defense a little bit with Zeke early in the game, open up the play-action pass, open up the field with Dez, and then, take control of this game. Have the defense off the field as much as possible, try to keep their offense off the field as much as possible. So that's going to be an interesting game, especially Alan, Sully's brother, is a huge Broncos fan, so we're going to be going at it for sure. We're going to have to watch the game together for sure, and it's going to be fun. The only other thing I wanted to talk about before I ended this video was the whole Jon Jones thing. I made a video about those fights when they happened, but I was really sick, and I wasn't really happy with the video, but I couldn't really re-record it because my voice was all messed up, and I was just, so sick, I didn't want to re-record it. And so I didn't end up putting it out. But basically, I knew Jon Jones was a fucking scumbag as soon as I laid eyes on him. I'm not upset that this happened to him. I mean, a lot of people are calling it a tragedy. I understand that the dude is probably the best fighter of all time, but is he? We just got confirmation yesterday. The B sample came back, also positive for anabolic steroids. And so is he that really that good? Because it seems like he probably needed anabolic steroids to beat Daniel Cormier. He got much fucking bigger in his body. I mean, it was fairly obvious. And, I mean, has he been doing this the whole time? You're going to tell me a guy that does cocaine and shit while he's training and hits hits somebody while drunk driving and then runs away from the scene of the crime, you're going to tell me that guy would have qualms about using steroids? Yeah, because he has a fucking Bible verse tattooed on his chest, and every once in a while he throws out, like, scripture tweets. Give me a fucking break, dude. That dude's a fucking... He's a fucking phony. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about this because I start getting so mad that I start saying shit that's really fucked up, and I don't want to put that out into the world. I mean, because say what you want. I mean, of course, nobody's ever going to see these videos, but it's going to be out there on the internet forever. And, you know, he is the father to a lot of kids, but, you know, I don't want to be that guy who's, like, spitting a bunch of fucking fire about somebody I've never even met and talking a bunch of shit, but I've never liked him. He always seemed like a phony. I'm not upset that he is suspended. I hope I never see him again. I hope 20 years down the road, somebody makes a 30-30 about him, and I go, oh, Jon Jones! Yeah, that fucking idiot! Whatever happened to him? What a fucking waste he was. I hope that's basically what happens. I hope that we never hear from him again. Because I just don't want him to be a part of my life. I hate looking at his stupid face. I feel really bad for Daniel Cormier because now again they officially today reinstated him as the UFC champion, and it's just like the second time now that he got beat by Jon Jones but ends up the champion, and so the fans are never going to give him the credit he deserves. He's always going to get booed. And they're always going to call into question his title reign, and it fucking sucks, man. He deserves so much better than that. If I was him, I would stop fighting at light heavyweight. I would go up to heavyweight. Cain Velasquez is probably done anyway. I mean, he's always hurt. He's never fighting anyway. Go back up to heavyweight and take the fucking heavyweight championship. He could do it, man. Him and Stipe would be a great fucking fight, and he could win the heavyweight championship, and then nobody would have anything to fucking say about his legacy or his career. If I was him, that's what I would do. I would go up to heavyweight and take my shot at the fucking the heavyweight championship against Stipe. That would be a fucking great fight too. It'd be a great fight. Because in the meantime, I mean, he's already defended against the most dangerous guys in that division, other than Volkan Oezdemir, and Volkan hasn't really fought. I want to see Volkan fight Alexander Gustafsson. Then, if he beats Alexander Gustafsson, you could throw him in there with Cormier. And, you know, they were talking about getting Rumble back out of retirement, but now that Jon Jones is going to get suspended, I don't know. I don't know if he'll come back. I mean, for what? To fight fucking Cormier again? Get beat again? I think Rumble could fight Cormier 100 times and he would lose all 100. Because you're not going to knock Daniel Cormier out with one shot, with one punch. I mean, obviously, Jon knocked him out with one kick, basically. But that was late in the fight, and it was a perfect kick. It landed perfectly. It caught Daniel unprepared, and it's different than a punch. And I just don't think Anthony Johnson would ever be able to take Daniel Cormier out. I mean, no, that's not true, because a punch can land funny and hurt somebody more than, you know, a different punch would have. But I just think if Cormier and Johnson fought 100 times, I think Cormier would seriously win like 98 of them. He's just so much more mentally strong than Anthony Johnson. And he's just got that grinding mentality where, like, he's not going to quit unless you put him to sleep, like Jon did. And so Rumble is just not that guy. He's an athlete. I mean, he says it himself. He's an athlete. He's not a fighter. He doesn't even really like fighting. He's just really good at it. And so, you know, the first sign of trouble, as soon as he's losing the fight, he gives up mentally. And, you know, I mean, that's basically all I had to say on the matter, they announced all this stuff within the last couple days. Jon Jones' B sample came back positive for the same steroid. He's a cheating motherfucker, and he's out. They're going to suspend him. If they follow their own policy, he'll get 4 years. And I'm not the least bit upset about it. Now, it does suck for Daniel Cormier. They basically had no choice but to give him the belt back. But I mean, it sucks for him because it's like we've seen him lose twice, and somehow he's still the champion. Anyway, guys, like and subscribe this video, share it. I'm going to be obviously making a video every week with the Cowboys games. I really enjoy doing them, and as the fights come. The next pay-per-view is going to be a big one. It's one of the biggest cards of the year, so I'm pretty excited about that, and I'll definitely put out a video, maybe even a preview video. I'm going to try to do these a little more consistently, guys. I'm sorry. I've had a rough stretch here. I'm sick as a fucking dog, but getting better now. Football season's underway. The Cowboys look good. I'm stoked, so I'm going to try to keep putting these out. Alright. Peace, guys. Later.